So now we have what I think is going to be the main performance of the dinner. Because Betsy has promised to tell everything about Frank, his youth, his career, his everything. Betsy, give us everything.
Well, where are my slides?
You can stand here. It's the best, so you can see the screen, and then you.
But I have slides.
I will.
Okay. Hey, everybody. After so many months of isolation and coronavirus, it's really amazing to see so many friends. It's really, really nice. And I know Frank feels the same. I have some beautiful slides, but where are they? Here. Julia. My slides, Julia?
Yeah.
So I made a slideshow for this, since I'm a little shy about public speaking, but I feel much, much better if I have some PowerPoint slides instead of just me. Now, this is a three-part slideshow. The first part is, I'm calling it Young Frank. I thought it would be good to sort of give people more context about Frank. So the first part is sort of Young Frank, about Frank before physics. The second part is some fun photos of Frank during his physics. So you can see a picture of Frank when he was doing axions and Frank when he was doing anyons and that sort of thing. And then the third part is my birthday wishes for Frank's 80th. Since we already we already had his 70th. I mean, this is just, this is like the longest birthday party anyone ever had. But so I'm just moving ahead. I have some birthday wishes for Frank's 80th birthday, and I have some slides for those. Julia, do you want me to run my own slides? I could easily do it. You just have to go to PowerPoint and open the show. Well, since I don't have any slides and everybody's just waiting, I'll tell you a story that isn't on my slideshow. I'll tell you about when I first met Frank at Princeton. So I went to Princeton. I had done a lot of things before I went there as a graduate student. I considered myself extremely worldly woman. I was 24 years old. I had been married. I had traveled all around. I felt as if I really knew everything, just about, except biology. I was going to learn some biology. Then I was going to win some Nobel Prizes. That was my plan. Anyway, so I went to Princeton as a graduate student, and I was one of the very first women graduate students there. I was not the first year of women, but I was the second year. And so there were like 10 of us women, and there were like 300 guys. I got there, although I felt very worldly, I felt also kind of shy. I was basically kind of a shy, bookish person with a lot of dreams about the fun things I was going to do, because bookish people do big things. But at Princeton, I very soon felt as if I had been called upon to carry a plate of hamburgers to a room full of hungry dogs. Because I get 3 marriage proposals, I think, in my first week. And one of them was very sincerely explained to me this proposal. He said, you see, I'm a graduate student. I don't have a lot of time and I don't have a lot of chances to meet women. This will be to your advantage too, he said. If you and I get engaged right now, then we don't have to worry about this ever again. I'm like, oh, well, thank you. This generous and tempting offer. What have I done? What have I gotten myself into? But then I met, I actually took part of his plan. What I did was, I said, right, so if I have a boyfriend, they will stop. So I looked around, I said, would you be my boyfriend? He goes, okay. This poor innocent Japanese mathematician named Kiyoshi. Okay, sure. So yes, now I have a boyfriend. Excellent, now I can get back to winning that Nobel Prize. But then, wouldn't you know, about 1 week later, Kiyoshi introduced me to his best friend from the University of Chicago, and that was It was not instantly an awkward situation. It was slowly an awkward situation. Because at first I didn't like Frank very much. In fact, he made me so angry. I went home, after one conversation with Frank, I went home and in those days I was a hippie, so I wore a bandana on my head. I went home and I took off my bandana and I ripped it in half. I was so angry. Here's what the terrible thing Frank had said to me. We were talking about books and I said, what are some of your favorite books? What are some of your favorite authors? He said, he's telling me, I don't know, Tolstoy, you know, Karamazov brothers, you know, that sort of thing. And I'm like, I said, yeah, well, what are your favorite women authors? He goes, women authors? I don't think I've ever read any women authors. Well, what I didn't realize was that Frank had hardly ever read any fiction. So anyway, eventually I stopped being mad at Frank and we were dating each other. This is not at all my talk that I wanted to give. I'm telling those files. Oh yeah, it was working fine in that computer.
So I connected this one.
Anyway, let's see. So then at that time, okay, I'll tell the different story that I was not going to put in my talk. So when I met Frank, I met Frank a long time ago. When I met Frank, he did not know how to drive. When I met Frank, he did not know how to swim. And he was really very, very young. When I met Frank, he was only like a month or so past his 21st birthday. And yet I was a first-year graduate student at Princeton, and he was a third-year graduate student at Princeton, which seemed a bit unfair. But, so Frank was just transforming from being a math graduate student to being a physics graduate student. He had taken a course with David Gross on, what was the song that you took with David Gross?
Quantum field.
Quantum field theory, that was it. Anyway, yeah. So I'd like to claim, I mean, unlike Einstein's wife, I can't really claim to have written any of Frank's physics papers. I didn't write any of them. But I can claim a couple of pieces of credit for Frank's career, and one is his generals. Frank was a bit anxious about passing generals because he's very conscientious and he really tries to do a good job of everything he does. So he's rather anxious, or at least he seemed to me that he was rather anxious. And so of course I wanted to fix it, this poor Frank. So I said to him, Frank, I know exactly what to do to make you pass your generals. Oh, good. And he said, what is it? I said, lie on the floor. I'm going to lie on you, and this is going to squeeze all the anxiety out of you. Because that can't work. I said, oh, yes, it does. It works. Believe me, I've read about it. I was lying. Anyway, Frank very good-naturedly lay on the floor, and I lay on him, and he passed his generals. And here he is right now. And here's my slideshow. Thank goodness. Okay, happy birthday, Frank.
Now you'll second.
Now for my talk. All right. So here we are at beautiful Högberg Gorge, having a lovely time and having so many good friends here with us by Zoom. And I wish that you were all here. And I would like to say a thank you to the very kind. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I would like to say thanks to the organizers of this, you know, Auntie and Puya and Hans, and am I forgetting someone? Al did so much of the really work of getting organizing the scientific part. And also Frank, and I'd like to thank Frank for being brave enough to let me speak, which I intend to continue to do. Okay. Well, I have a little thing that doesn't seem to move the slide. Can you move one slide? Yes. Okay, you see that cute guy? That was the Frank when I met him. And in fact, I took that picture of Frank at Princeton. And you can see he's giving me a rather dubious look. And just think, he didn't even know me then. And he knew me well enough to give me that look. So. Just goes to show. Can I have the next slide, please?
He hasn't changed a bit.
No, he hasn't. He absolutely hasn't. So now I want to tell you, this first part of my talk was just sort of the context of Frank and when I met him. So here is Frank with his Italian grandparents, one of 9 grandchildren. He's the extremely handsome and very good-natured boy standing in the back row. So that's Antonio and Michelina Kona, his grandparents. And then I don't have a picture of, but his other grandparents were Jan Wilczek and Franciszka Wilczek. They were Polish, and they had only 4 grandchildren. So when I met Frank, I instantly was dunked, or once I was dunked into an ecosystem that was new to me, but very supportive of Frank. And it's part of what made Frank the person he is. Can I have the next slide, please? So this is Frank playing the accordion. Oh, thank you. So he's probably about 13 here, and again, not that much younger than he was when I met him. Next slide, please. This is Frank running for president of his class, and I hardly need to tell you, he won. The man of the hour, Frank Wilczek. Next slide, please. So even when Frank was very small, it was apparent that he had a big brain, and in this historic photo, you can see him playing with his big brain. Next slide, please. This is a little bit of fan service. This is Frank's beautiful, beautiful mother, Mary. And I think Frank looks quite a bit like him. I just wanted to put that slide in my shot. Okay, now for some physics. I know this will be a relief to some of you. Next slide, please. So in the context of physics, this is Frank in 1977. So if you think about Frank doing asymptotic freedom, this is Frank at that time. This is what he was looking like. Very cute guy, I might add, and still exactly is. Now this is David Gross and Sidney Coleman, 2 people that were incredibly important to Frank and to me back in the 1970s at that time. I just want to stick in a photo of them. I thought people would like to see it. Next slide, please. Okay, now here we see Axion Frank. This is Frank in the middle of the desert with our daughter Amity grabbing his arm, making trouble as she did. And it was a great pleasure to him to have some distraction and think about axions. Next slide, please. This is you just saw our Ennean daughter. This is our Axion daughter. No, you just saw our Axion daughter. This is our Ennean daughter here. This is Frank. I hope you're suitably impressed by his mustache. I have often thought that if the bottom falls out of the theoretical physics market, what? No, it is not. I think Frank could have a good career as a lounge singer playing the piano and the accordion. To grow his mustache back, he'd get a lot of tips. Okay, next slide. So here I just want to show you, this is our Axion daughter and our Ennean daughter. Amity, the older one, I think really looks incredibly much like Frank. I'll just tell you a little anecdote about her. When she was very small, and I would take her with me to the grocery store, people would come up, and, oh, what a beautiful child, you have to look at her. She got very used to hearing this. So eventually someone came up and said, oh, look at her, she's so charming, so cute. And she said very helpfully, she said, yes, I have beautiful eyes. I just like to add that Frank could make the same statement if he was not so honest. And then there's Mira, who looks a lot, I like to think looks a lot like me. This is about 1979. So these are, you could say these are the, what are they, some kind of swimming that Frank and Al did, some kind of swimming stuff together. This was about how it was.
So that was later.
Was it 79? Oh, no, 1980. Sorry. Thank you. Okay, good. Next slide. Now, this is Frank playing Captain Ahab. I originally had a section of this talk of things I talked Frank into. I took that section of the talk out because it was already long. But still, this belongs here. This is Frank as Captain Ahab in a play that I wrote for my mother's 80th birthday party. And this is Frank so it would have been 1997. That was very close to the time that Frank almost blew up the world with CERN. As some of you may recall, in 1999, there was a headline in the London Times. Giant accelerator may blow up the world. It was all Frank's fault. Not really. Okay, next slide. Now here's the next another phase in Frank's life when he won the Nobel Prize, which was really nice. And that one of the things that happens is that at 6 o'clock in the morning, if you live in the East Coast of the US, the photographer comes to your door and takes pictures of you. And he took pictures of Frank holding the actual phone that he took the call on. In the background, you can see me and our dog, who was very excited. The photographer had dogs, and she really liked the way he smelled. Okay, next slide. This is Frank, more Nobel Prize Frank, looking extremely bewildered and happy, as in fact he was. Next slide. This would be in the category of things I talked Frank into, but I think this was 2005 when we went back to Princeton to visit. And in the basement of the physics building there, they had pictures of Nobel laureates. And I said, hey, Frank, now you belong with those guys. So I'm going to take your picture. Thanks. All right, Betsy, whatever. There he is. Okay, next slide. Now, I'm not the only person who talks Frank into things. This is Molly, came to our house and brought Frank a hat that said, I won the Nobel Prize. And, so I give credit to Malik for that. And for myself, I will take credit for the mug he is holding, which says legend. Okay, next slide. So here we are let's call this one Time Crystal Frank. So for Frank's 60th birthday, he decided it would be really fun to do a walk across England, which is like a 200-mile hike. And we talked Axion daughter and Enion daughter into going with us. And this is, I don't know what discovery we would name him, but our nice son-in-law. Okay, and then I guess next in our life, we started coming and spending time in beautiful Sweden. And there's Astrid and Anders and Hans, to whom we owe so much of the pleasure of our time in Sweden. And Steve Kibbelson doing devil horns. And next slide. And also we started spending time in beautiful China. And here's Vincent and Jonathan Feng and Christiana, of course, Chinese Christiana, and and Lars Brink, who I'm sorry couldn't be here. Next slide. And now in that phase of our life, we have a grandson. And I think you can see from looking at him that he's intelligent enough to be just as puzzled as the rest of us as why Frank has so many pens in his pocket. Okay, next slide. So this is a side of a birthday party, and I think some of you can see yourselves there. It's been a very long birthday party, but started May 15th, but I'd like to thank everybody for being part of it. And now I come to the part where I have some good wishes for Frank's 80th birthday. Next slide. I wish for you, Frank, that you continue to be embedded in a loving and supportive ecosystem in physics and in your normal life with your family. Next slide. And I really hope I am part of it. But if I'm not, I still want you to have everything the best. And the next slide. And I hope you continue to enjoy working and being creative. And don't change that part of yourself at all. And the next slide. I hope that axions are discovered. I hope they're a very big part of the dark matter. But I hope they're not all of the dark matter, because a lot of nice people want it to be wimps, so I don't want them to be disappointed. I hope some of the dark matter is wimps. And I also hope that supersymmetry is be discovered, so I know that we want that to happen. Next slide. These are enions. No, they're not. It's a moire pattern on velvet, but never mind. I hope that not only are enions discovered, but they become incredibly useful, a source of power so that our air conditioners, our cars, everything, our internet will all run on enions, and that will not degrade the environment, and our lives will be perfect thanks to enions. Next slide. And I hope that since now that any of them have solved every problem, what will time crystals do? Well, I hope that time crystals will inspire many beautiful artworks and maybe enable us to do some time travel, but in a really nice way that doesn't do anything bad. Next slide. And I hope you win the Nobel Prize in Literature. But I think based on what I've seen of other people who won it, you're really going to have to start putting some very salty sex scenes in your books. And in order to do that, I'm happy to see that your next book you were planning to put in a robot. But just think if you put in 2 robots, it would really increase your possibilities. So I'm putting that out there. And in conclusion, I hope that for your 80th birthday, we all come back here together and have many more friends with us, and beautiful, beautiful Herberria Gourd. And thanks, everyone. I love you, Frank.
Well, it's a tough act to follow, and I won't really make a serious attempt. Just let me say that when I met Betsy in, I guess it was the summer of 1972, it was a turning point in my life. I was really, I had really, I think, the only great crisis of my life, going to Princeton, not really knowing what I wanted to do, feeling sort of disconnected from my family and from such friends as I had at the University of Chicago. And then two things happened to me, or 2 people, Betsy, of course, and David Gross, and they really, well, gave me gifts that have kept on giving throughout my life, and I can't say how grateful I am. And yeah, and I'm really blessed, and the blessings keep coming somehow. And thank you.